I love free stuff because I'm an Asian. Before I'm a feminist.
So this is not me using my pretty privilege. I'm just Asian.
I'm just Asian.
And I rather say it's pretty privilege than say I'm frugal. If you're Taiwanese, you know my mom is Hakka, so like I'm like half Hakka. So
you frugal in the blood.
I'm fucking frugal from the blood. So. Hey, this is sugahoneybbt, a podcast aimed to amplify Asian woman voices while navigating race, dating, and wellness. I'm your host, Ange.
Hi, I'm Toby. Before we start today's episode, please go follow us on Instagram at sugahoneybbt. It's at SUGAHONEYBBT. And we post a lot of contents every week. So make sure you go there.
Yes, please go there and follow us. We just hit a new milestone today. So we have 300 followers.
It ain't easy being famous, babe.
Ain't much, but it's honest work. Also, please consider donating to us via PayPal. There's a link in our Instagram's bio. So, please go there. Buy us a bubble tea. Give us some money. And we will also give you a shout out on the pod.
Yes. So, speaking of PayPal shout out, this week we have a very generous donation coming from Joanne, because she's our second time sugar mommy.
Yes.
So what had happened was we received a PayPal donation again from Joanne, and then the two of us with our imposter syndrome was like, this has to be a mistake. She sent it by accident.
Because I was like, there's no way. Maybe she like sent like a reoccurring payment or something. Yeah. But then,
we messaged her and I was like, oh, like, let us know your email. We'll transfer it back to you. And then she was like, no, it's meant for you guys. And I was like, wait, what? So Joanne, thank you for your donation, but stop spending your money so frivolously.
We're like telling people to donate to us, but at the same time be like, bitch, spend your money on something better.
Yeah, gotta be frugal. We're Asian. That's not how you live. But thank you.
And please donate to us because we will be really happy.
Yeah.
That's like literally the best I can come up with. Well, like the imposter syndrome thing.
Yeah.
That is so real, because sometimes I'm like, nobody gives a shit. Like,
I'm like, us? We don't deserve. Even though we literally break our back doing this, I'm like, must be a mistake, a fraudulent
activity.
Yeah.
But anyways, today's episode, super interesting, and we wanted to do this for a while, and we literally just spent like an entire afternoon like talking about it.
Yeah.
We're supposed to record, but we like spent an entire, because it was just so interesting. We went into like a spiral. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is your segue. So, Toby, as a kid, did you grow up pretty?
Okay, so I grew up like I was Fiona.
Like from Shrek?
Yeah, like I lived in a swamp.
You know what though? My dad used to say that I was found from
dumpster.
A dumpster.
That's like Asian parents
101.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Parenting 101. Tell your kid that we got you from a dumpster.
Yeah, and they'll believe you for the next 5 years of their lives.
Literally.
Yeah, because I did. But anyway, so you were.
Yeah, I grew up. I didn't think I was a like pretty kid. I was just, Fiona in Shrek, and that my dad used to be like, oh, you're like the ugly duckling of the family.
What?
And stuff like that. And then like, yeah, and I didn't like really identify as being pretty either, like
but
conventionally pretty.
Were your feelings hurt, or you were just kind of like conditioned to
so hurt? Like I would be
like Fiona after she married Shrek or before when she was still a princess?
The green Fiona.
The green
The
Fiona.
green Fiona. Yeah.
Just some context here, guys.
Yeah. And I would be like, because I was so young, but I was already feeling like super insecure about the way I look. Or like I remember that I just wanted to be like pretty, you know? Like growing up, I was like, oh, I just want to be really pretty. I want.
Why did you want to be pretty? Like, were there other people that were pretty and they lived better lives than you?
I think it was, at the time, it was like validation almost.
Ah, okay.
Like I just want to be seen.
Okay, yeah.
And pretty people are always seen.
Yes, they glow.
They glow.
You know what? This is like aside from, but the other day I was like in the SkyTrain.
Yeah.
I was going to the SkyTrain. I was like going down the escalator.
Yeah.
And one beautiful, beautiful homosexual black man went up the escalator, and I'm like, you fucking glow.
What
The
skincare?
Pride weekend. It's Pride
The
weekend.
Pride weekend.
Yeah, it was the Pride weekend. And wow, he glue. And honestly, and I was thinking back the entire day, all the black men, all the gay men I've met,
Yeah.
all was glowing. Like dewy.
It's sis, the sorcery. I need to get railed.
Maybe that's what it is. Why are you spending money on masks when you could just get
A
cum?
cum shot.
Anyways, speaking of pretty.
If you don't know already, we're talking about pretty privilege.
Yeah, this is not the episode about cum shots.
Listeners like, wait, are we being put on a new skincare routine? Is that what's going on?
But yeah, like what is pretty privilege? Give us a definition.
Okay, so pretty privilege is basically the idea that being attractive gets you advantage in different setting. Like it could be like social setting or in a professional, or it could be like a really simple, you know, like getting free drinks
Like
at a
if you hang out with
bar.
like your other friends and they're all beautiful and you're not beautiful by, I mean, quote unquote,
Right.
by the definition, you know what I mean? Or the beauty standard. And then they get drinks and you don't. That's a privilege.
Yes.
That's a privilege
Yes.
right there. So yeah, what we're talking about is more like a physical appearance. Yeah, because we all know being beautiful or pretty could be a very internal thing as well. Like you could be very smart and intellectual. That's also pretty. But all we're talking about is the physical appearance of someone.
Physical attractiveness.
Yes.
And because like I feel like beauty is so subjective. So I guess historically beauty has always been associated to like certain characteristics. So that will kind of be like the conventional idea of attractiveness, and that gets you privilege. Like the more close to attractive the scale of attractiveness you are, the more privilege you get. Like fair skinned, skinny, like symmetrical face, feature, blah blah. Yeah.
But you know, because you were talking about when you were growing up, you were Fiona of the family.
Yeah.
When I grew up, like I never thought I was pretty either.
Yeah.
And no one really, like, by the definition of like Asian beauty standards, I was not in it. I was not in the standard of Asian beauty. Also, I had an underbite, which was like terrible because it was just like nothing that the way I looked fit into this beauty standard. And growing up, nobody really nobody told me that I was pretty, and I kind of knew that, but I never like tried to be pretty. I think I was just petty. I think I became petty, and so I just started being really jealous of pretty people, but I turned that jealousy into like
a fuel
so like as motivation to be smart, because I just thought that pretty people were dumb.
Yeah.
And I was like somehow conditioned or convinced myself to think this way. And so I was like, at least I'm smart.
Yeah.
I don't have to be like a pretty person that just sells their look. Like I could sort of like undermine the way that I was conditioned to it.
Guess that's your way of coping. We all had different ways.
What was your way?
I just wanted to be pretty. So I spent the next 23 years of my life just
trying to not look like Fiona.
Trying to not look like Fiona. I was like looking for the magic potion. Literally for the next 23 years of my life, bound by this transient prison, the idea of beauty.
But it's interesting how we both grew up thinking that we're not pretty and took a different route in life.
Yeah.
Not that any like not that whichever one is like better than the other, but it's just interesting the way that, the way we deal with trauma, or the way we deal with we deal with the society's standard of beauty. I sort of like always hear my family or relatives talk about things like your look will be very attractive to white people or like white men. Like I always get that when I was growing up. So I always just like have this feeling that Asian men are not into me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that, like not for me, but I've heard that for other people. Someone like, oh, like her type, like the way she looks, she'll be like a hit. A hit amongst white male. Or stuff like that, or like in like foreign country or whatever.
Yeah, because my eyes don't like. I have a bit of a, what do you call that?
Like a foxy.
Fox eye.
Yeah, foxy type of eye.
Yeah, and that does not fly in Asia. So I was like, I was very used to my my extended family pimping me out to white supremacy. As a kid. Without even knowing, and they don't even know. they don't even know. Yeah, because isn't beauty standard? Okay, this is a whole entirely other thing, but beauty standard I think really stems from white supremacy, capitalism, and the patriarchy. But anyways, we're not gonna get into that today. It's a whole nother thing. But yeah, like growing up not thinking that I was pretty, I became petty and I hate on pretty people. And I always felt like there was some sort of rivalry. Like I would look at pretty people and be like, well, they're stupid anyways.
Like a rivalry between you and pretty people.
Yeah, not a very obvious one. It's just like a very internal thing.
Like an agony that just eats you alive.
That just eats me alive. And nobody know except for me.
Nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, and then have you ever heard of this news? Because I was just like trying to be really smart, basically.
Right.
I'm like, at least I could be smart if I'm not pretty. And have you ever heard of that news of this Chinese lady who like went to like, so she's like from China and she like moved to the States for schooling. And why are you laughing already? And she's very, very smart, though not pretty, very, very intelligent. She had like her master's, and then like she just had like double masters or whatever, PhD, like everything.
Yeah.
And then she got to a point with her education where she has nothing else to study.
Right.
So she has to go to work.
Right.
And literally 1 year into the workforce, she became bald for losing all her hair. And then she like had a mental like breakdown.
What happened?
And call her family back in China and be like, I need to go home because first and foremost I'm bald, and second of all because she doesn't know how to deal with social interactions because she's always been studying.
That's honestly me after quarantine. Like, anytime I go into the office and I go into the elevator, I'm like bald. I'm like panic.
But it's true, like, and then I see that story, I'm like, oh wow, thankfully I didn't become that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I realized that's also not a solution.
Just so extreme.
So I am like on the two ends of the spectrum.
It's either all or nothing.
is either Victoria's Secret model standard of beauty or baldness.
Bald. Oh my god.
But yeah, like at what point did you realize that you're pretty?
I think, okay, because you know how like I feel like I haven't even like shook off the insecurity about my look, because now whenever someone like give me a compliment on my look, and I'm just like, me.
It's like Joanne giving us money.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not pretty. Like, I think it's like until maybe like a year ago, I still kind of like identify as Fiona, and then.
But honey, you're not. Okay, it's just a self.
Yeah, it's like a self thing, and then like even though I know I look like really different from before now, like I have changed. Thanks to the man that broke my heart, just like glow up. But yeah, like I think like this year I'm actually just like, okay, I think I look good, like. You know, like I was like so afraid to like entertain the idea that I look good. And I just like, yeah.
What is this internalized like self-doubt or like self-destructive thought?
It's just insecurity, because it's just like I've never felt pretty my entire life.
But okay, do you think you benefit from pretty privilege?
Now?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Are you loving life?
Not me being like, oh, abuse my power.
But like,
I'm like, bitches, I spent 23 years in misery as a Fiona. Can you just let me use my appearance for 2 seconds?
Just let me get this one drink, bitch.
I literally just want to get a drink. I don't even care. I just don't want to pay for my own drink.
But you know, I think my turning point of thinking that beauty, because I always look down, you know, being conditioned to it. Like I kind of look down to pretty people being right. You know, like, oh, they can't amount to nothing. Like, who cares? They're just pretty. They'll just, because Asian family tell you that. They're like, oh, she's pretty and she, you know, she married well and she has beautiful kids now. And I'm like, well, wait till she gets divorced. She'll do nothing. So you know, like it's just like a really dark thought, but I think it's just because it's like my childhood. But anyways, like when I was 24, I went backpacking and in Europe, and I went to Rome, and I was at my hostel. I met this girl, and she's beautiful. She's like, she had blonde hair, like that, like stereotypical beautiful
like
woman.
Yeah, like the very Eurocentric idea.
Yes, Eurocentric idea of like beauty.
Yeah.
And she's really beautiful. And we got to know each other, you know, after a few drinks. And she told me that she's a Jewish stripper. And her name is Marilyn, like Marilyn Monroe.
Like stripper name? Her stripper name?
Yeah, her stripper name. Yeah. And I got really interested in, you know, how this all came about. And I was like, so what, why did you become a stripper?
Right.
Yeah. And she was like, well, I was given this beauty. Why can't I use it? Like, why does she, and then it kind of occurred to me that if she's just given this beauty, why does she have to be shamed for using it to her advantage?
Yeah, just own your beauty.
Yeah, just own your beauty. Like, why? So then I no longer have this rivalry with pretty people. After that incident,
you won't have to be in conflict with yourself.
This is all just a single, like, one-man solo show that is happening. But yeah. Then I realized, you know, like, why do people shit on pretty people when they accomplish anything just because they're pretty?
Honestly, if I can like shake my ass, I will be on that pole so quickly. You won't catch me using Illustrator for another day. I will be on that pole.
Honey, book me a one-way ticket to Vegas.
Literally, you'll make banks.
Because we could be like sugar babies and not.
Yeah. But I don't know how to shake my ass, so that would be maybe next life.
I mean, if I like, there's absolutely no shame in being a stripper or anything.
That's like feminism.
See, yes. Go ahead.
Cis feminism. Also, like real feminism now I'm trying to practice is posting a hot photo of yourself without having to post any kind of like political or social or wellness caption. I'm
true.
just here simply trying to be hot. I'm showing everyone this hot photo of myself.
Yes. You don't have to write a caption about how you love yourself.
Yeah.
Bitch, I know you love yourself because
Hot
you look
photos.
hot.
Hot.
Yeah, you work for that hot body. You love yourself.
Hot. Tune in tomorrow to my Instagram for a thirst trap. As it's about.
But yeah, true feminism right there.
Honestly, true feminism is just empowered to
Do whatever
own your
you
body.
want. To own your body, own your beauty, own your Fiona-ness. Like, just own it. Yeah. How do we get here?
I know.
But I also think like pretty privilege is perceived like in different culture is perceived differently. Like I think if I were to go back to Asia, I probably won't have the same pretty privilege as I do here. Cause now I think I'm gorgeous. I'm fucking gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning.
Because this is actually a really serious episode that we have planned out to be, but now we're just both
Turning into a
hysterical.
comedy show.
Because like I think if I go back to Asia, I would not. But oh my god, here's the thing: like, do I have pretty privilege here because of fetishization?
Oh,
I am so
like, are you
confused.
just being fetishized?
Yeah.
I honestly can never tell because just like the experience of being female and Asian, that sometimes I'm like, I don't know if it's simply because I'm a female or is this happening to me because I'm an Asian woman.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, because like, okay, if you think about this in like the cultural context where I'm in North America, so if, you know, I'm a pretty woman, so I could get pretty privilege, but at the same time, I could also get fetishization privilege.
Yeah.
So like if I go back to Asia, everyone's Asian, so there's no fetishization.
There's nothing special about you.
There's nothing special about me. Nobody sees my brain. All they see is me and my flesh. Then I also don't fit into the beauty standards of Asian culture. So like I no longer have any privilege. I'm just a normal ass ordinary woman. I'm gonna stay here. Thank you very much.
Indefinitely, I'm staying here.
But you know what? Interestingly, though, like
Yeah.
I think it's all in my head sometimes because I say that, you know, how my extended family would pimp me out to white supremacy, even as a kid. So they think that my looks is more suited for someone who appreciate my look, would be like a white person or white cis male. But interestingly, and then I sort of believe that as well. But interestingly, all the men I've dated are majority Asian men.
So you're also a hit upon amongst Asian male.
So it's yeah, it does not add up. I think it's all in my head.
Right. Or I don't know, or are the Asian men conditioned into like the Western idea of beauty
Oh, like they are also
fetishizing?
do they think they're white men and they're fetishizing me?
Do they identify as cis white male? Is that what's happening?
You know, like, okay, what do you think about that guy who that white British man who identify as a Korean?
I simply do not understand. Because it's like, I thought it was a joke at first. And I think the man, like, he actually just said, I identify, like his pronoun will be he, him, Korean or something. Like he identify as a Korean man.
Yes, yes.
And I was like, can you just do that?
Can
Can
I identify as a white woman?
as a white woman? Yeah.
For the privilege?
Can I just do that? Like from now on, I will identify as a white male. White.
Yeah, not even a white woman.
Just
white male.
male.
Right to the top of the
mediocre
pyramid.
white male. I identify.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You probably can, because isn't that the way that things work now? Like I'm really confused by society at this point. That I kind of just gave up.
Just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think life inherently is just struggles and suffering, and with this heat wave, it's just all day, everyday suffering.
All day hell. All day fresh hell.
So like, why are we even doing this podcast at this point? But anyways, like going back, yeah, did you find that there's pretty privilege in different culture is perceived differently? Like attractiveness is perceived differently.
I feel like because historically beauty has always been associated with whiteness or like the Eurocentric features that usually like BIPOCs or like Asian groups are really not traditionally considered being beautiful. But I started to realize that being like Asian or BIPOC, in order to, appeal to what in Western culture or appeal to like white audience, you need to be either like stunning or just like really palatable and relatable for white people.
I like the word palatable.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, first of all, what is palatable to white people? Like,
it's like, I think it's like someone, okay, so like for example, like Lizzo,
yeah,
she has like a huge white fan base.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like partly because she's like really like she kind of fills in like a certain stereotype, like an idea of Black African American female that is just like that is familiar to white people,
right?
And therefore she's very palatable to a white audience.
Like more opinionated,
yeah,
speaks her mind, that kind of that kind of stereotype.
Yeah.
There are Asian women like stand-up comedians who are like Ali Wong or Aquafina.
Yeah.
But they're not like Lizzo fits in like this like stereotype of Black women that is palatable to white women. But Ali Wong and Aquafina doesn't. They're like pretty much the opposite.
Right.
Yeah, they're not like the stereotypical Asian woman. They're loud, they're funny. Asian women are not funny. You know what I mean? Not by the stereotype.
Yeah, we're like traditionally like quiet or like soft spoken or whatever.
Am I palatable to white people?
Are you appealing to a white audience?
I don't know.
I mean, are they palatable because if you're like beautiful and just like fit into the traditional beauty category, like do they just feel threatened by your presence?
Oh, threatened.
Like your
But I almost feel like white women might be threatened by Asian women because we get fetishized.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. This is with the way that the pyramid goes in the patriarchy system.
Right.
White male right on the top of that cake.
Mediocre white male.
White male. And then there's white women.
Right.
And then there's Asian woman, I think.
So does white women just constantly think we're trying to get on top of them?
Yeah, well.
That's white male.
I think white male thinks that way.
I said it and I was like, actually, don't do it. Is it white male?
Yeah. Like, do you think that pretty people also struggle?
Well, I mean, everyone struggles, so I'm sure they do.
Right. Like, life is inherently just struggles and suffering. But like, what kind of, because I was thinking about this. Like, I was looking at that girl who's that Jewish stripper, and I'm like, and she was telling me all the stories, and I'm like, damn, her life is hard. Like, she struggles.
Right.
Yeah, like she was like beat up by like 10 men.
Oh my god.
Yeah, on the street.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but I think because they were Palestinian. But you know, the whole history. And still ongoing. But at the same time, like she has other struggles. And you know, and then I started thinking about like my childhood. When I was in middle school, I was bullied by a girl who was pretty. And then I later on found out that she had a really rough, like a really shitty childhood too. And she was being fetishized by like, well, sexualized. She was white. She was being sexualized by older men and older boys from like, high school and whatnot. Just because, you know, she's pretty and she looks more mature than her age. So, yeah, it reminds me, you know that novel, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov? And it was about an adolescent girl being sexualized by her stepfather after her biological mother died. And she uses kind of like her sexuality as a weapon in order to survive. Yeah. Because she was still a kid.
Yeah.
So in like all those things add up, made me think like being pretty could sometimes be a curse too. Though you do have the privilege, but you suffer in different ways.
Then curse me. I agree, because I think everyone has their struggle, and pretty is such a surface thing. Like, just because you look at someone, that person is attractive, don't mean that the life is good, you know? Like, they're like, everyone has their own story, so it's hard to judge by the look. But in certain settings, it is easier for attractive people, or like based on research, it is easier for attractive people, right?
Do you want to have pretty privilege if you have a choice?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, right?
I'm already so oppressed as an Asian female. Can I just like have the spotlight for once? For God's sake. God help me. God so help me. Let me just have something. I'm like fighting the wage gap, fighting like fucking fetishization. Like, just let me be pretty. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I know the beauty standards stem from all these, like, you know, white supremacy, patriarchy. But if you let me choose, I want to be pretty. I want to have the privilege because I do work hard for my appearance.
Yeah.
And the next time I go to a bar and a man buys me a drink, whether it may be fetishization or being pretty, sis, I'm taking that drink because, trust me, I'm single-handedly fighting the patriarchy, one gin and tonic at a time.
Rebel against patriarchy.
Also,
I love free stuff because I'm an Asian. Before I'm a feminist.
So this is not me using my pretty privilege. I'm just Asian.
I'm just Asian, being frugal. So me utilizing my appearance.
And I rather say it's pretty privilege than say I'm frugal. But like, no, it's just pretty privilege. But deep down, it's just because I'm Asian.
I'm so frugal.
And if you're Taiwanese, you know my mom is Hakka. So like, I'm like,
shit.
Hakka, so
you frugal in the blood.
I'm fucking frugal from the blood. So
you are frugal.
So Han, I will take that drink.
Yeah.
Fight the patriarchy, but deep down I'm just
frugal.
I'm just trying to save $1.
At what cost? Seriously. Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's a really fun episode.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's it.
Yeah. If you like this episode, or if you want to see more photos of maybe me being Fiona, I don't know. I might release. You can follow us on Instagram at sugahoneybbt. It's at SUGAHONEYBBT. And you can keep up with the mommies at BBT Mommy and at Sensitive Bow.
That's right. And donate to us.
Yeah.
PayPal. Pal pay us.
Are you okay?
No.
We've entered full hysteria.
Yes. PayPal us. And there's a link in bio. And yeah, that's it. I have nothing else to say.
Very little break.